Welcome to the Unapologetically Aligned Woman, a space where your darkness and shadows are not flaws to be fixed or healed away, but honored, decoded, and reclaimed as the truest expression of your soul's deepest power. I'm Tiffany Silvestri, and I'm so honored to walk with you through the messy, sacred terrain of shadow work, embodiment, and radical feminine reclamation. This podcast is for the woman who's done being digestible, the woman whose fire has been tamed, whose softness has been hardened, and whose body is quietly aching to be heard again. Within each episode, we are diving deep into where so many of our stories begin. Not into the darkness as punishment, but into the underworld as initiation. With the masks we are taught to wear and the armor we thought we had to earn, the survival archetype so many of us carry is the strong woman. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Unapologetically Aligned Woman, where your darkness isn't a weakness, it's a doorway. I'm Tiffany, and in today's episode, we begin at the root. With the mask so many of us wear, the strong woman. She wears the title like a badge, the strong one. She knows how to hold space, how to stay composed, and how to be who everyone else needs her to be. She knows how to lead, how to mother, how to keep moving, no matter how tired she is. But behind the curated strength, behind the sacred performance, is a woman holding back a tidal wave of unspoken truth. And no one sees it because she's made it look easy. That is what we are all taught. Be palatable, be resilient, and be safe. I want to say this slowly for the version of you that's still armoring up every morning. This is not strength. It is survival, and your body knows the difference. So what happens when the strong woman starts to unravel? She does not become weak. She becomes real. Her rage returns, not as destruction, but as boundary. Her grief returns, not to collapse her, but to cleanse her. And her hunger returns, not just for food, but for fullness, in body, in desire, and in truth. This is shadow, not the monster under the bed, but the parts of you that were never allowed to be seen in the light. In astromedical terms, this is the Plutonian awakening, a call from your 12th house, a Lilith's roar echoing through the bones of your chart. It's where your psyche says, I will not fragment myself to belong anymore. And the shadow doesn't punish you for this. She waits patiently. She becomes your symptoms, your burnout, your relationship breakdowns, until you are finally willing to feel what you were never allowed to feel. This isn't pathology, it's initiation. And here's what I want you to know. With every single cell in your body, you do not have to be the strong one anymore. You do not have to carry it all to prove your worth. And you don't have to keep abandoning yourself to be chosen. Because your power was never in your perfection. It was never in your composure. Your power lives in the places you've exiled. It's the trembling, the truth-telling, the raw, inconvenient, unapologetic parts of you. This descent is not weakness, it's devotion to the self beneath the mask, to the body beneath the armor, and to the woman beneath the performance. And if your nervous system is whispering, I don't know how to let go, I want you to know this. Safety is not in control. It's in connection. And that begins with you. Let's bring this into the cosmos, shall we? When we look at the archetype of the strong woman, we're not just talking about personality. We're talking about how power, grief, and suppression are literally imprinted into your psyche and soma. Let's name the key placements to explore in this shadow pattern. First is Pluto, the root of repression and power. Pluto reveals where we've been taught that our power is dangerous, where we've experienced soul-level trauma, loss of control, and forced transformation. The strong woman often has a Pluto wound that says, if I lose control, I will not survive. So she tightens her grip on her image, her emotions, and entire identity. So looking at Pluto maybe in the 1st or 10th house, survival through control of image or career. Pluto squaring the moon or Venus, emotional suppression and body disconnect. Or even Pluto in the 6th or 12th house, hidden illnesses, silent suffering, or even overwork as a trauma response. Pluto isn't here to punish you, it's here to initiate you into the version of power that doesn't come from force, but from surrender. Then we look at our 12th house, the shadow that you've silenced. The 12th house is the house of the unseen, the forgotten, and the repressed. It's what you were never given permission to embody in your waking life. So strong women often have Sun, Moon, or Venus in the 12th, which is hidden needs, invisible femininity, and emotional exile. Or Saturn or Pluto in the 12th house, which is internalized shame, spiritual suppression, and ancestral trauma. And Mars in the 12th house could be repressed anger, rage turned inward, or even autoimmune patterns. This house whispers your softness wasn't safe, so you hid it. But what has been buried will always seek to rise. We can also look at Lilith, the exiled feminine. The Black Moon Lilith shows where you were cast out of your wildness, your desire, or your untamed truth. For the strong woman, Lilith is often the part she cuts off to be acceptable. So look for Lilith in Capricorn or Virgo, which is hyper-functioning or perfectionism as self-protection. Lilith in Cancer or Libra would be like suppressing emotional needs or people-pleasing to survive. Or even Lilith with hard aspects to Saturn, which would be like disowned rage or the quiet good girl turned volcano. Trust me, I have this and it's sometimes not so good. But Lilith is saying to us, they may have exiled me, but I never stopped knowing who I am. She is not here to be healed. She is here to be heard. We can also look at our Saturn placement, the armored self. Saturn teaches us where we've had to grow up too soon, where we were expected to get it right, be responsible, and hold the emotional labor of others. Strong women often have Saturn on the ascendant or in the 7th, which is relational self-suppression. Saturn and Moon aspects learn to contain emotion to earn love. Saturn in the 6th or 10th house, which is workaholism as a survival strategy. And Saturn gives us structure, but when internalized through trauma, it becomes our armor. And here's a little bonus placement you can look at. But looking at your Mars, Mars can also show us our rage, our burnout, and body symptoms. Mars represents action, willpower, and healthy aggression. And in strong women archetypes, Mars often goes dormant or distorted. So looking for Mars in a water sign or in the 12th house, which is self-sacrificing or rage suppression. And Mars with hard aspects to either the moon and or Saturn, which is anger internalized, which equates to burnout, adrenal fatigue, or somatic shutdown. Mars is where the body often screams first. It will show up in inflammation, tension, pain, and depletion until you reclaim your sacred no. Astrology doesn't diagnose you, but it reflects you. It gives you the permission to see the patterns that We've been living unconsciously and choose something different. This descent is not just a metaphor, it's written in your chart. And once you name it, you can stop holding the whole world and start holding yourself. These are not flaws, they are coordinates. Shadow is not the end of the road, it's the doorway to your deepest embodiment. And descent is not a detour, it's the map to your sovereignty. As you move through this week, let the unraveling be holy, the cracking open be sacred, and let the tears come if they must, because you are not broken, you are becoming whole. A reflection for this week is, what have I performed in order to be seen as strong? And what is the cost of continuing to hold that performance? Let that question land in your womb, in your bones, and in your breath. Feel where you have anything coming up without judgment. And breathe it in and out. And I know this episode was short, but if it has stirred anything awake within you, I want to invite you deeper. You can always book a natal chart reading with me to uncover the hidden patterns shaping your strength and suppression. Or you can always download the Lunar Reset Guide to begin syncing your nervous system with the moon and reclaiming your body's wisdom. In the next week's episode, Descending into Truth, where we explore what it really means to deconstruct old identities and let your truth rise, raw, real, and untamed. And until then, I invite you to unclench, soften, exhale. You are never meant to be digestible. You are meant to be whole.